spilled.
Looks like we're rolling in with everything.
Hi everyone, I know it's been about 2 weeks since my last video, but I have been away a very large project with my job, and obviously holiday. I thought I deserved one, so I went on one, and it was very nice, and now I am back. So what better way to hit a first subject than Call of Duty Infinite Warfare? Now this is a title that I wasn't that excited about seeing at first, but the more they show of the game, actually, the more interested I become. One of those things that's intriguing is the fact that we've seen this game quite early on, and like many titles, they show improvement as they go through development. Shock horror, who'd have thought that? The first time we saw this game at E3, which you can see on screen, the performance wasn't exactly stellar. Considering this was on the PS4 and running a dynamic resolution as per its iterated engine from Black Ops 3, it wasn't really setting the world alight. But that's not to say it was a bad looking game. Now run it through my performance tools, we can see that it generally hits around 40 to 45 frames per second consistently throughout all action, even when you're not shooting and you're just walking through the hangar bay here at the beginning. And already at this early stage, unlike the last game, this is fully V-synced with no tearing present at all. Now the outside space sections do handle that much better due to the reduction in geometry in the background, therefore the GPU is getting an easier time of it. Which ultimately means this shocked the grand total of absolutely nobody, with about 6 months left before release. But we have seen this game again, and we've also seen further footage from the remake, the one that everyone really wants. And obviously if you want that, you've got to pay £70, which is not the nicest little deal there from Activision, but then this is business, and I'm sure if you can hold off, there'll be a later release you can buy it separately if you don't want to buy the new Infinite Warfare. Quickly covering the remake, we can see that yet again this is most likely PS4 footage, and it holds a pretty solid 60 FPS. But that doesn't mean it does all the way through. At the beginning, with the heavy alpha sections of rain, the DOF and camera blur, including bokeh on the lens, does drop us down to nearly 30 FPS at this point on the PS4. But I'm sure this will be ironed out and improved. Again, this is months before release, and it's the last thing they're going to improve. But in gameplay, we're looking at a pretty solid 60 FPS, aside a few dips here and there, nothing to write home about. Now the game itself will be running on the same scripting process and animation as the original, just running under the new engine. Therefore it'll have most of the benefits we're seeing in the render process, and we've seen some of these like I've just mentioned, with the additional depth of field, much better shadows, some volumetric light, and much better particle rain. In fact, special mention must go to the shadows in this game. For a 60 FPS title on hardware like this, the shadow quality sampling rate is very high and very clean. Now all of these improvements are ramped up further still in the latest game in Infinite Warfare, and this isn't entirely just down to graphical enhancements. Now this is most likely PS4 footage again, as this is the linked deal, so this is my assumption here, and judging by the performance metric we're seeing, and again the same dynamic resolution scaling, it's pretty sure that this is what we are looking at. Now overall the performance, as you can see, is much better, bearing in mind we've just looked at the E3 footage and it did not hold a consistent 60 at any point during the demonstration, aside the space sections which are again in this new footage. But here we can see a much better use of the GPU, delivering multiple dynamic light sources, including volumetric light, abundantly used throughout this game. As we saw in Black Ops, it's really been pushed on here. Bolstered further with its PBR implementation, covering all objects and Fresnel calculations, from the bright specular of the wet streets to the dual diffuse of stone. This obviously is a big reason why the remake looks so much better, as well as these elements have been carried over to the asset recreation and improvement in the game, best demonstrated from the opening section they've already shown. But the game also sees further improvements. Like I've already said, volumetric use is vividly used throughout this demo, seeping from distant light sources. We also see alpha effects in the form of smoke, which sample both light and shadow maps at certain points. Particle embers fill the air, and these get touched upon with the bokeh depth of field in the real-time cutscenes, again running at 60 FPS, that were later improved in the release of Black Ops 3, showing how late, or at least behind schedule, that release actually was. All these sequences now, including the same animation script and sequence of climbing into your cockpit, all run at 60 FPS now. From the sections shown so far, there is no per-object motion blur or even camera radial blur running on any points of these demos, both versions that we've seen, and this includes the remake in Modern Warfare. A form of motion blur, namely radial on the camera and cockpit, does appear in the space shootout sections, but the sample rate here doesn't look to be as high as what we saw in Advanced Warfare, and these sacrifices make sense for other effects elsewhere in the game, such as the volumetric lighting. And this lack of post-processing solution throughout the game, aside the depth of field that I've just mentioned, is something that makes the game look a little flat, not helped by its standard post-process AA, and this stands out better in the space sections of the game. They have added some nice composite offline sections of the game. You can see it at the opening section with the smoke running down the street and the camera moves up, hiding the blend, and again later on when you shoot off into space, this perfect fluid simulation of the smoke trails of the ship is a composite onto the image, as we have seen with previous titles like Rise of the Tomb Raider and obviously Uncharted series. And it does have all the usual sacrifices you would expect to hit this high lofty frame rate achievement on this hardware. Again, you can see very limited screen space reflections used in the demo scene thus far. Cube maps are used quite extensively. Anisotropic filtering looks to be around 2 times or maybe 4 times at best at certain textures, but these are all the kind of things you should expect from a title running on fixed hardware like this, and this game will also be one of many that will ship with a Neo mode when that machine finally releases. Expect to see performance improvements with any of the dips you are seeing here being completely eradicated on that version, but I must stress this is a work in progress and I do expect this to improve even on this vanilla PS4 version. On top of this, you will also see the obvious improvements in resolution and also visual quality, more in line with a high-end PC release, which may include motion blur. We'll have to wait and see. Now, I am looking forward to this release far more than I was, due to the fact they've now mixed up the combat from what you'd expect from the standard Call of Duty run, look, shoot, press A to win, and dodge the impending death that comes your way, with these in and out of vehicle space sections looking more in line with something out of Independence Day, breaking up the monotony of the standard Call of Duty clone. It looks to be something that may actually deliver a change to the series. Now, whether or not the story itself and the flow of characters is the best that Infinity Ward have delivered and reaches anywhere near the pinnacle of the Advanced Warfare title this game will ship with, is a question I will answer once I get my hands on.
Take the right.
That's the end of this video. If you like this or anything else that I've put together, then please feel free to check out more content across the channel and the website and learn more about this and all my other articles. If you did enjoy it, then please like and subscribe to support the channel, as it helps me immensely and keeps my work going, and certainly sharing where appropriate. Play fast, play hard, and I'll see you on the next one.
Take the hill!
We're moving up, Reyes.
Enemy transport in the AO!
Beating us down!
Can't advance!
Reyes, we gotta take it out!
Sir, the airship's got bots!
Look what they did to us, Reyes.
Let's go get him, Saul.
To all available craft, the Retribution is in pursuit, but we are losing ground. We need to leave atmosphere now.
1-2, copy. Let's go get him.
Retribution, this is the Eclipse. Trailing your starboard.
Scars, fold in. We're going upstairs.
Pitching 90 for horizontal thrust. All ahead full.
Go flight. One, good throttle.